we're given two functions, f of x equals 2x plus 1 and g of x equals x squared minus 1. We're asked to find part A, f composite g of x, and part B, g composite f of x. Now here's what I want you to notice. In the past, you've considered things like f composite g equals of 1 and g composite f of 2. Well, for both of those types of questions, your answer is always going to be a number because you have a value for the x value. But in this question, we're simply asked to find f composite g of x, not 1, and g composite f of x, not the number 2. So our answer for each of these questions is not going to be a number. It's going to be a function, an equation that has x in it. Okay, so whenever you do not have a number for the x and you just have the x after the composition, that means your answer is going to have x in it. Let's look at part A. F composite g of x, by definition, is equal to f of g of x. Okay, so we're going to replace, inside the parenthesis, we're going to replace it with the g of x function. So we have to go back and remember, what was the definition of g of x? It was x squared minus 1. That's because the definition of g of x was x squared minus 1. Okay, now what are they asking us to find? They want us to take the f function. The f function, recall that one? It's equal to 2x plus 1. And they want us to evaluate it for x squared minus 1. In other words, you take the f function, you remove the x and replace it with parentheses. So 2x plus 1 becomes 2 parentheses plus 1. And then you plug in place of the x, the entire mess that you have in the parentheses. See, the definition of f of x is 2x squared plus 2x plus 1. So write 2 parentheses plus 1. We're asked to find not f of x, but f of parentheses x squared minus 1. So take out the x in the definition and replace it with the entire mess in the parentheses. Replace it with x squared minus 1. That gives us 2 parentheses x squared minus 1, and then the plus 1 on the outside. Okay, now if you don't understand this, you go back and listen to it again. This is so important. F of anything, I don't care what's in that parenthesis, f of anything is found by taking the definition of f, removing the x, replacing it with parentheses, and then plugging in the parenthesis, whatever it is they gave you in the parenthesis of the question, f of parentheses. Okay, so we have 2 parentheses, x squared minus 1, and then plus 1 outside of the parenthesis. Let's get rid of the parenthesis by distributing multiplication by 2. So 2x squared minus 1 plus 1. Distribute multiplication by 2. You'll get 2x squared minus 2, and then don't forget the plus 1. Now combine like terms, you get 2x squared minus 1, because minus 2 plus 1 is minus 1. And there's our answer. Okay, so what did we find? We found that f composite g of x. Now remember, I told you it wasn't going to equal a number. It's going to equal a function. And that function is 2x squared minus 1. Your answer is an equation. It's not a number. All right, let's try this again. The second part, B, g composite f of x, by definition, is g of f of x. Okay, we're going to replace the parentheses f of x with what f of x is equal to. Well, the definition of f of x is 2x plus 1. So replace the parenthesis with 2x plus 1. We have g of 2x plus 1. Okay, now they're telling us to go back to the g function, the definition of the g function. Remove the x, put parentheses, and insert everything inside of our parenthesis. Insert the entire 2x plus 1 in the parenthesis. Okay, the definition of g was x squared minus 1. So take out the x and replace it with the parenthesis. Square it minus 1. Do you see that? That's g of x with the x removed and parenthesis in its place. Now, we're going to insert the 2x plus 1. 2x plus 1 in the parentheses, squared, and then don't forget the minus 1 at the end. Okay, let's simplify. Let's square. Now remember, when you're squaring across addition, you can't distribute the square. You have to use a definition, 2x plus 1 times itself. And don't forget the minus 1 at the end. So we're going to FOIL those parentheses there. We get first times first, plus last, outer times outer, plus inner times inner, plus last times last. And don't forget the minus 1. Combine like terms, you get 4x squared plus 4x plus 1 minus 1, which is 4x squared plus 4x. Now some of you are saying, can't I factor out of 4x? Why? Why even do that? The answer is going to be a function of x. Who cares about factoring anything? Nobody asks us to factor. So our answer is G composite F of the x value is 4x squared plus 4x. And again, you'll see we didn't get a number for this answer. We got an equation. You only get a number for the answer when you have a value for x in the question.